parents' house, this vast country pile, but he didn't feel very comfortable here, so he actually moved into the hunting lodge in the grounds of West Dean, Monckton House, and transformed it into this extraordinary surrealist environment.
It's bright purple.
It is. He covered the exterior in this incredible stucco and then painted it bright purple. It became a showcase house for Edward's collection of surrealist works. What he did was actually take Dali's ideas and then have them made by his decorating firm.
What sort of things?
Well, the lip sofa, which is just over here, one of the most iconic objects created.
This is possibly the sexiest sofa I've ever seen.
It is. It's the Mae West lip sofa.
I mean, it's a very playful piece.
But if you want to take it further, it has all these other, more disturbing, perhaps, meanings. Here we have the idea of fetishization just completely embodied, all sorts of very erotic and disturbing ideas, but in a piece of sort of luxury interior design.
Well, hang on a sec, because I'm looking at this and it looks like a very sumptuous pair of plump, juicy pink lips. You're saying this is dark and disturbing?
Well, it is, because if you think about it, you sit in the mouth. As soon as you interact with this object, you're creating a dialogue between you and the object, which of course is what Dali was so brilliant at doing and what much contemporary art has explored later on. But of course the idea is that you are being swallowed into this female mouth. But upstairs we can see another version, one in red felt.
Well, Edward James loved it so much that he got it repeated again and again.
And in fact Edward had 5 made.
Wow.
Incredible, yes.
Imagine having this at the foot of your bed. Can I just say that this is probably the most famous, one of the most famous things of the 20th century, and this is just in Edward James's bedroom.
It actually was made as a working telephone. It's your ultimate surrealist composite object. What it does is it takes 2 completely disparate, pre-existing things, a lobster and a telephone, puts them together and creates a fantastic new reality.
But why do you think that this one has become so incredibly famous?
It's a very simple idea, brilliantly done. Of course, there's this fantastic slippage between the shape of the receiver and the lobster, but also the idea of talking to a lobster is, of course, you know, a very witty and humorous thing.
And I love this chair. This is obviously just a pun on armchair.
It is, and again, derived from an idea by Salvador Dali.
These arms are really grasping for someone's bottom to come and sit on it.
Well, indeed, or tickling your back, depending on, you know, how you sit in it.
But
I
probably just revealed too much about myself there.
Well, indeed. I mean, that's the thing about Dali. It's all very subjective and personal.
It's not just Edward James's home that's been shaped by Dali. Surrealism's playful and unexpected transformation of everyday objects has had a huge influence on interior design.
One thing that Dali's surrealist objects teach us is that anything is possible. Why shouldn't a lobster or even a hamburger be a telephone? Or why can't you sit on an enormous orange dog in the privacy of your own home? One thing that Dali's introduced into the world of interior design is this sense of playfulness and wit and fun. I mean, look at this. This is a contemporary piece. It's a chair by the designer David Pomper. It's got these little silver legs. I just know that Dali would have loved this. This is really a latter-day surrealist object. By now, Dali's ambitions were limitless. And ever the provocateur, he wanted to preach the gospel of surrealism to as wide an audience as possible. And in the 30s, there was only one place in the world where he could really do that: New York. We all know that today's artists manipulate the way they're presented in the media. Everyone from Madonna and Tracy Emin to Lady Gaga play up to the cameras and understand the power of publicity. But in many ways, it was Dali who blazed a trail for them. When he arrived here in New York, the circus had come to town.
New York became a showcase for Dali's work. He exhibited at the Museum of Modern Art, designed shop windows on Fifth Avenue, and even made a surreal installation at the World's Fair. He called his creation the Dream of Venus, a pleasure dome filled with naked women and unfettered desire. The Persistence of Memory was unveiled in New York in 1932. It was originally bought for just $250, but the reaction to it and to Dali was immense.
Dali once said, fame was as intoxicating to me as a spring morning, and here in America, he found fame like he'd never known it before. He loved it here. Ever the consummate showman, he quickly realised that America might just be his oyster, and soon enough, he was swept up in a frenzy of self-promotion. In '36, he appeared on the cover of Time magazine, which was a huge deal for an eccentric young Spanish artist who was barely into his 30s. The reporter at the time said that Dali had a faculty for publicity that should turn any circus press agent green with envy. And it was true. Dali was a master at staging spectacular stunts that generated huge amounts of hype. He appeared in Life magazine 6 times, and he even created his own newspaper, which was called, of course, the Dali News.
Dali was one of the first artists in history to so wantonly court publicity. He was also one of the first to inject some irreverent fun into the pompous, earnest world of fine art. He was the trailblazer for later superstar artists like Andy Warhol, and more recently, Damien Hirst and Jeff Koons.
This studio belongs to Jeff Koons, one of the most successful artists working anywhere in the world today. His art sells for millions of dollars, and it's witty, playful and irreverent, and definitely draws upon Dali's sense of the surreal. He's absolutely one of my favourite artists, so I'm really excited to be meeting him.
Koons and his team transform familiar objects into witty and pretty bizarre works of art. Recently, his work has included inflatable toys that pay homage to Dali's moustache and his love of lobsters.
When I saw this, I loved the shape of it, that it's both male and female. But if you look at the tentacles, it's very much like Dali's moustache.
Hugely like it, yeah.
But it's masculine. It has arms like an acrobat, quite athletic. But the tail's like a Venus.
Yeah. But is this in a way your portrait of Dali?
I think it makes reference to Dali and one of Dali's great friends, Marcel Duchamp. They always print on these pool toys that this is not a life-saving device, but art is a life-saving device. And so I always like that kind of contradiction, and also this gives you a sense of equilibrium when you're in the water.
Koons' work is joyfully surreal, from his balloon dog and silver rabbit to his huge puppy made out of flowers. You can see the debt to Dali, who he first encountered when he was a teenager.
I met Dali in '73. So I found out that he was at the St. Regis Hotel, and so I called up and he answered the phone. And I told him I'm just a young artist, I would love to meet him. And he said, well, come up Saturday morning and I'll meet you at the hotel at noon. I arrived, I was there, and right at noon he was in the lobby. And he had on a fur coat, and he had a tie with diamond pins in it and an elaborate cane. I have a photo I'd love to show you. But this is a photograph of from that moment, and I just remember that I was very I was excited, and I remember him saying, you have to hurry up. He fixed his mustache, he put it up, and he said, you have to hurry up, Jeff, because I can't hold this pose all day. And I don't know if he said Jeff, but probably young boy or something.
You'd like to think he did.
And that evening I really thought, I can do this too. I mean, art can be a complete way of life for me. I can spend all my time doing it, and I really had a sense of possibility. I think Dali very much was about kind of the expansion of horizon and a possibility, a great symbol of the avant-garde.
So Dali's work expanded the boundaries of what's possible, challenging and unsettling us by throwing together the unexpected. And that's just what we see walking down today's catwalks, like the late Alexander McQueen's designs, which drew on unlikely, way-out references. Even high street fashion has embraced surrealism, and this is largely thanks to Dali, who back in the 30s was turning clothes into an extension of his art. Taking inspiration from his paintings, like this one, he and fashion designer Elsa Schiaparelli created a range of surrealist-tinged clothing. The tear dress created the illusion of ripped skin, showing the flesh beneath. And the shoe hat turned convention on its head. They even designed a dress featuring Dali's favourite crustacean, which he thought was somehow sexually suggestive. An illusion perhaps not lost on Wallis Simpson just before she married Edward VIII. And today, celebrities like Lady Gaga certainly continue the tradition of seriously surreal fashion. The glittering world of high fashion acquainted Dali with jewellery, another delight for his inventive spirit. He designed brooches like tearful eyes and ruby red lips with pearls for teeth. But it wasn't just wearable jewellery. Typically, Dali pushed things even further later in his career, blurring the line between jewellery and sculpture, creating jaw-droppingly intricate objects that on closer inspection deliver a surreal twist. In 2007, Damien Hirst made headlines with his skull covered in more than 8,500 diamonds. It was on sale for £50 million. But Dali had got there first. More than half a century before Damien Hirst caused a sensation with his diamond skull, Dali was already designing jewellery, and pretty weird jewellery at that. This piece is called the Royal Heart, and it consists of a heart made of rubies that's beating in the middle of a gold setting. It's not